So time is short, so we'll move quickly, but future-proofing of family offices. So I would say to the audience, if you've come to listen about tax planning, wealth transfer, then you're at the wrong stage, so go somewhere else. My guest really requires little introduction. He dropped out of university at the age of 20, has founded 3 unicorns himself, is a self-confessed investor in mental research, whose stated aim is to shape the next human agenda where technology empowers people to be living longer, healthier, and happier lives. So with that, Christian, welcome. So there are 4 key areas I think you're looking at the moment, and they sit around mental health, longevity, fintech and crypto, and then also future tech. But where should we go first? I mean, I think, is longevity a good area?
Really, whatever you want, like whatever people want, but I think longevity, which is actually the, let's say, theme which brought us originally to Abu Dhabi. That was sort of the first topic we discussed with ADGM and ADIO, is what interests everybody because, like, hopefully, like, what does everybody here in the room wants? You want to be happy, you want to be healthy, and once you're happy and healthy, you want to live very long. So one of our core investment topics, and actually we started several big companies ourselves, is the topic of longevity, which means developing medical drugs, so really new drugs which are not on the market yet, to push both human life expectancy in terms of time so that we live longer, but obviously we don't want to live longer in a very frail state. So it's also how to live sort of in a good state, like so health span and lifespan. And what is very interesting, I don't know, because a lot of people here talk about taxes and that the environment here is amazing, which is all true. But also what we were very, very positively surprised is that Abu Dhabi also is about to become a real hub for biotech drug development. So you have really good universities here. You have really good clinics here. Biotech in my family office is sort of, as you said, it was actually the first company I started with 19 was a biotech company. So it's one of our core, if not the number one sort of theme within our family office. So, and we realized, very pleasantly surprised, that Abu Dhabi has the infrastructure to really move biotech companies here, to do research on the ground, to do FDA clinical studies and all of that. So that's one of our big sort of focuses, is to bring some of our biotech companies here on the ground, and longevity is sort of the most important theme we're pushing.
And is it easy to source those ideas? How do they present themselves?
Well, mainly this is the ideas coming out of university. So we work with universities globally to find sort of, or have ideas for new medical drugs, and then you embark on sort of the development journey.
Okay. And then moving it back then slightly, if we were to talk a bit about, you know, where life is at different levels and so on, your views around the whole mental health and mental health research?
Okay, my core thing is, like, as an entrepreneur and investor, you always want to find markets which ideally you serve, meaning the dream for an investor is always a so-called TAM, total addressable market, of 100% of the world population. Yeah, this is what, when I go back, what I said at the beginning is, like, the really one thing every human being wants is being happy and healthy. So from my point of view, doing work or delivering at the end, so to say, products, in our case, medical treatments for both mental health, making people happy, and longevity, making people live longer, is sort of the biggest market you can dream of. Yeah, coming to mental health, sort of the sad part of the future we're going into is that, unfortunately, meaning I'm very optimistic for the next 10, 20 years, but I also think, actually in a good way at the end, but like the next 10, 20 years gonna be beyond crazy in terms of technological innovation. I think we all don't really have a full feeling yet, or can't really grasp how much the world will change because of AI, because of robotics. Not because, meaning AI is maybe the single most important technology we're sort of advancing, but also as humans, but also like all these technologies sort of work together and will create a world which is completely different from the one we used to have. So I personally, I'm very excited about that. I'm also an eternal optimist. So I think net that future will be great. But also, if you look at how our mind functions, unfortunately, that sort of change is is really making a lot of people sick mentally in terms of they can't cope with it because like actually our brain is wired or we're longing for not change. Like if you look at people 200 years ago, actually even 100 years ago, the world they were born into and the world they left when they died was exactly the same.
Yeah.
There was zero change.
Sure.
Now, the world on January 1st is not the same than on December the 31st.
Yeah.
And it's just going to get faster. So coming to mental health, unfortunately, if you look at the numbers, mental health or mental health issues like depression, anxiety, addiction of drugs and stuff like that is unfortunately already today the number one biggest problem in the healthcare system in every country, here in the US, in Europe. And we are like, I'm very proud of that. We're like the biggest investor globally in various companies in developing new drugs, medical drugs for curing depression, anxiety, addiction, and all of that.
So I want to move on somewhere else, but just quickly, what are we doing about that socially? What are governments doing around that? How does that agenda fit with this change we see on an ongoing basis?
Actually, I think they're not really, you mean mental health?
Yes, yeah.
It's just starting that they sort of realize that how big the problem's gonna be. And it's not so easy. I mean, I have a very like, because it's not, you cannot say, oh, we're just spending more money on it. Because it's not a money question.
Yeah.
So at the very end, my personal view, what people need, if you leave now medical side aside, meaning again, we're doing medical drug development, but if you look what people really need, and actually the Middle East, I think, has some very good sort of foundations for that. What people really need to be mentally healthy or to stay mentally healthy in a crazy time, and sorry for that cheesy remark, but that's what it is. Yeah, I think you need faith, you need purpose and love. So my mental model of our brain is, aside of drug development, is like if you look at it, I believe our brain has an immune system as our body has. Yeah. So because actually everybody of us here in the room will be confronted at some point in their life with something very bad. If life goes normal, your parents gonna die before you, which is a very significant negative effect on your life. If unfortunately everybody of us gonna have a difficult time in their job, whatever. So life is not a linear development. And there must be a reason why some people go through these adversities and still are fine, and why some people, and by the way, why more and more people slide into depression, anxiety, and addiction, whatever. So my belief is we have this mental health immune system, and it consists of, as I said, faith, purpose, and love. Faith, because I believe humans are wired. I don't want to make the pitch that God exists, which I personally believe, but at least what I can tell you as a scientist, that humans seem to be wired to need a transcendental element in their life. Yeah, otherwise they're more prone to develop mental health issues. Second, humans need a purpose. We need to wake up in the morning and know what our place in society is and that we have a value. And third, the most important one, I think, we need love. We need family and friends. The problem is, in that world I just described of technological innovation, all these three things, faith, so the belief in some higher being, purpose, and family ties, are actually extremely on the decline. And the worst one is actually purpose, because take the taxi driver. Like, even if the taxi driver doesn't understand AI, somehow he or she knows deep down. I think the ordinary people on the street are much smarter than we think. They might not be able to explain AI, but they know they're not going to drive the car in 10 years. Yeah, and I think so many people know deep down that in the world which we all of here are creating, they might not have a place, at least not at the first sight.
Yeah.
So, but that lack of purpose combined with a decline in faith, combined with a decline in family values, whatever, I think is the underlying driver for that huge mental health crisis we're seeing, which we're trying a little bit to combat with new mental health drugs.
Okay, good. Fintech and crypto. Let's start with crypto. Very, very relevant for us here. From a banking perspective, large concerns about being disintermediated, bringing costs down massively. Now is a value choice. Is it a substitute to gold? What's your view? Where do we sit on crypto?
Okay, jumping from life science to our
Yes.
other big sector, crypto. No, but I love it. Like
It's asset allocation, Christian.
exactly.
Asset
No, no, no,
allocation.
exactly. And I think as a family office, going to our big topic of the panel, future proving. I think because the world changes so much, you have to sit down and think for yourself, all of here, like, what do you believe how the future looks in 10 years from now? Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of volatility, but I think if you have a mental framework where the future is in 10 years, then you can start sort of structuring what I'm doing for myself, your family office, in a way that hopefully we make a lot of money and are still relevant in 10 years from now. So I'm a super bullish person on especially Bitcoin. I would say, I don't want to say cryptocurrencies because there's a lot of shit out there. Yeah, but Bitcoin is for me, very simplified said, a replacement for gold.
Yeah.
So, and gold, by the way, has no value except, or more or less, there is a tiny bit of an industrial value and a tiny bit of a jewelry value. But the main value of gold is that humans, some 1,000 years ago, decided that gold is a store of value.
Yeah.
And humans always need a store of value because UAE aside, who has a very good government, but most governments over time prove to be dicks. Yeah, and this is why people want to have an escape. Yeah, this is why they go in gold. This is why they want to escape in one way or another their government. Yeah, or at least their monetary system. Yeah, and if you look at Bitcoin, it's just the smarter sort of way or the smarter thing for gold. So the big question is, if you want to decide for yourself, do you want to be in Bitcoin or not, is do you believe if the younger generation sort of has taken over, has accepted that sort of use case of Bitcoin as a store of value? I believe that among my friends who are younger than 30, most of them have Bitcoin, none of them has gold. Yeah, so it's and if that's the case, Bitcoin should be the most successful or one of the most successful assets in the next 10 years.
And then how does that translate to the whole fintech environment?
Well, with Bitcoin and then the whole blockchain, as you said, you have a whole sort of restructuring of traditional banking, but even some older fintechs might get disrupted by the next sort of wave of, let's say, decentralized finance, which, by the way, does work. Like, one remark, like, the whole crypto industry over the last 18 months went to a lot of problems.
Yeah.
I think like there was the first thing was, I think, May last year, this 3 Arrow, what the name was, hedge fund went down, then Luna went down, then FTX went down, and now Binance didn't went down, but Binance has some sort of leadership changes and some stuff.
Sure.
So if the same thing would have happened in the traditional finance industry, it's similar to Lehman Brothers going down, but then
crash.
JP Morgan going down and all of that,
Yeah.
the entire world would have collapsed. And you have to give it to the crypto industry because of the decentralizations. Nobody was crying for, oh, the government shall rescue us. Yeah, there was no systematic problem. Yes, Bitcoin went down. Now Bitcoin is going up again, but the industry has proven itself remarkable, resilient over the last 18 months, which is a proof for me that decentralized finance is actually the much better way than centralized finance.
Okay, quickly, we're running close to time, but congratulations. Excellent that you're here in Abu Dhabi. Now, how does this all tie back? I know you touched on it earlier on, to Abu Dhabi and the ecosystem we have here and the growth,
Well, so first of all, I'm really happy to be here because, like many said it before, there is the baseline, which is already great. Yeah, people like me don't like taxes. Taxes are evil. Yeah, so the lower taxes, the better. Yeah, So second, quality of life is amazing. Third, the regulator is very welcoming, like ADGM, big shout out. Yeah, that was all super smooth. So I think that's the baseline. Then for our business especially, as I said, remarkably how far ahead or far or well done sort of the science infrastructure is in the UAE with clinics, with universities, whatever. So we can do real biotech sort of science on the ground. The same, the UAE is very friendly and open to cryptocurrency. So for us, it's sort of the dream setup because sort of the foundation is right, but then also for the themes we are looking at the most, yeah, the UAE and especially Abu Dhabi is really forward looking.
Fantastic. Well, listen, I think you'll all agree with me. It's far more interesting than private equity. But please thank my guest, Christian, for joining us today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Christian, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.